broadcasting from Park Avenue in New York City. Brought to you by Global Wealth Office at Nest Seekers International and Classique Moderne. This is Peace and Good Wealth. Welcome back to Peace and Good Wealth. This is Loy Carlos, your host, and today's conversation is not just special, but it is also timely, especially in a world filled with derision and division. We are joined today by two extraordinary voices, one whose voice helped define a moment in country music with songs that carried love, longing, heartbreak, and truth. The other helped change a generation of Christian music, including a song that became the anthem for so many people. But today we will not only ask them and speak about the music, we will discuss the undercurrent of what it means to be an artist, behind the veil of fame, the private cost of public success, the silence that can live inside applause, and the complicated relationship between faith and identity, and the freedom that comes when a person no longer has to hide and divide the soul from the song. Please welcome Ty Herndon and Michael Passons.
What a
Hi, Loy.
beautiful intro.
Thank you.
Yes.
We have to live up to that now.
We could talk about that all month, actually. It's amazing.
I think it's good to kind of like prep everything sort of like in a way that I think would start the conversation in a good way. And usually we start the conversation with the beginning of things. The middle of things. But I think for our purposes, let's start from the very beginning. Both of you were.
How much time do you have?
Oh, thank you. I have as much time as you wish. Yes.
Okay.
No, so
right.
both of you, when was the first realization that you wanted to go into the profession of being a musical artist?
That's interesting that you say that because we just played the Opry 2 nights ago, the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville.
Pinnacle, yes.
And I right before we sang, I shared that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 12 years old, my dad took me to the Opry. And I remember going there, and for those people that know country music, the name Roy Acuff will mean a lot to them. He's one of the pioneers of country music, and he was standing at the back door just shaking hands with everybody like you're coming into church. But if you think about it, he was the pastor of the mother church. And
Very well said.
I just remember that night being 12 years old, overwhelmed with what I'm seeing, because I'm from rural Mississippi, so this was, a whole new world for me. And I said to myself that night, when I grow up, I want to come back to Nashville, and I want to hopefully make music that makes people feel like I felt that night.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do feel like I was blessed to have that realization. Mm. And I only say that not in an egotistical way, because I've just heard from people. I've seen, I've heard, I've listened that people have said this music has really healed them, changed them, been the anthem for their life. And so that's just amazing, and I'm very humbled by it.
Ty, how about you?
What he said.
Copy paste.
Okay.
Man. I did the Grand Ole Opry for the first time when I was 18 years old, and Roy Acuff, brought me on stage, and my grandmother was there, who had her own radio show and for years in rural Alabama, and the whole Opry stood up and sang "Happy Birthday" to her. And
What year was that?
That was probably 1981.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that was just a couple years after 12-year-old Michael was there.
I know.
Okay.
See, I could actually be his dad, so it's kind of
Put your calculators away, people.
We had a great time, though. My grandmother created a monster that night, because ever since then she wanted more publicity, so it was kind of cool. But I think I'm going to speak for Michael and I both. We were kind of born to do this. We came into this world. I was probably singing before we were talking. I was a fan of Michael during the Avalon days, and we got to be great friends. And one of my favorite stories is we went to dinner one night, and I thought they had their Sharpie. I thought they were coming to the table to get my autograph, and they just went right past me and said, "You're Michael Passons from Avalon." So it was wah, 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 wah. Yes.
Everybody needs a check every now and then.
So music, and the reason I say that is, I wanted to sort of like explore the whether there's a change in how you feel about music as the years go by. How did music make you feel growing up?
Wow. I think Michael also just said there's a magic about it. My family also gathered around, to listen to WSM, and then later on, radio was a huge thing. But here's the thing about music. Music is a healer. We use it to celebrate. We use it to grieve. We use it to have a great day. So I think that's been the core, really, as a musician. Most musicians will tell you this, is to create magic. Because something that my mom told me a long time ago, when you put your heart on that microphone, you're not just singing for you. It's going out to millions of people, and you're singing their story as well as yours.
Right. Well, country music also, I think in particular, is a genre that really is very, in a lot of ways, intimate.
Oh gosh, yes,
right?
yes.
Because
CCM.
it's I mean, I'm a big fan of Patsy Cline, and Patsy, because Patsy, without you seeing her, can tell you a story in a very vivid. Vivid way, 3 cigarettes in an ashtray, for instance, it's
I can even smell
today,
what you just said.
I think even today, women want to be like Patsy Cline. I mean, younger, she's such the pinnacle of strength. When you come to Nashville, any woman in this business, I've heard them talk.
Yes,
they will tell you have to have an inner strength that.
Well, I think that's her song. You could hear it in her song that that no matter how sad or frustrated or disappointed or hurt this song makes her feel, you still kind of feel the strength of the woman behind that.
Oh yeah.
And that was really fascinating. And I think that's part of what's difficult about country music, as well, because a lot of people feel very, very close to you, probably much more than a lot of pop stars.
Well, it's a storytelling type genre almost. There's so much storytelling in it, which I think gravitates toward people tugging on their hearts more so than just a cool hook. There's a story behind it.
I just had an aha moment. Country music is almost like the soap opera fans. They're very, very invested, and they feel like they know you, and in a lot of ways they do, because you're singing about their lives.
Right. But also, if you look at soap opera, the way it's filmed, right?
Yes.
It's not filmed like movies where you kind of feel a little bit separate from the actors. It's almost like being filmed in the old camcorders where
like you're in the room.
You're in the room with
exactly. Erica Kane. Yes.
So it makes it but what makes a good what makes good music?
Authenticity. I often I'll often kind of compare the way I sang in the 90s, early 2000s, when I was in the band that I was in that actually originally recorded the song Testify Love that Ty and I now sing, to today, and how I'm singing them both. Even my songwriting. I wasn't living in my authenticity at that moment in those years past. I was still grappling with my identity, accepting myself for who I was.
You write some songs now,
I'm thinking,
let me tell you.
If I was still in that moment where I thought I could pray the gay away. And now I know that I was trying to pray my authenticity away, which
it's the gateway to pray.
Yeah. And so once I was fully vested and comfortable with who I am, I believe as far as I'm concerned, my music was better.
Well, I'm going to testify to that. Yes, it is better. It's amazing. And I think, what makes it a great songwriter is willing to dig deep and
vulnerability
and the authenticity, truth, and just the core of what people are feeling that they're afraid to say for themselves. And because if someone's saying it for you, then you have the opportunity to go, oh my God, I lived that. I believe that. And
it was articulated in a way that you didn't think about it before.
Right. Yeah. And it gives people strength. It gives them courage. To say, hey, if you're singing about that, then I can certainly talk about that. So music that's why I've always said music matters. It matters so much, and I can hear even a silly song in country music, from great artists like Billy Ray Cyrus to John Anderson swinging. It just made me laugh. It made me happy. And then to turn around and have Seminole Win, who are you?
I worked on that record.
You did?
I worked on that record.
That. Oh,
yeah, I worked for a country music producer. It was my first job in Nashville years and years ago. And James Stroud is his name, and he produced Seminole Win. So I got to actually watch John sing that. in the studio back like around 1991.
I love when stories like that happen. When you think that the first song out of the gate is going to be just a silly, they're not going to really have a career, and then they turn around and blow you away with this magic you didn't know lived in them. Yeah, it's like that's the beauty of it.
Well, singing is communicating, isn't it? It's at a very 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 basic level. It's really communicating something, and I think the best performers, pick Whitney Houston for instance. When they're singing, it's not saying just technically wonderful.
Moment.
Yeah,
we need a moment.
You just can't just throw that name out.
Sorry.
She may be like the GOAT to me. So
it's because anything that she sings with by phrasing and all of that stuff, but it actually comes from very deep within her. And so many people are very technical singers and they're great and they sound fine, but they don't touch people as well as the ones who communicate with the song from wherever it's coming from. And so that's why I think authenticity is very important.
Interesting you say that about her voice, because if you listen to her early records, it was before auto-tune was so much of an industry standard. And I love her not quite so on pitch notes.
Mm-hmm. Same with Bonnie Raitt. Same with
it's just, and of course she's such an amazing singer.
Yeah.
She could probably sing the whole thing a half tone off, and I would love it. But I just love that realness of the old '80s recordings.
A lot of real singers today go, don't turn that on. We're just gonna we're gonna find the authenticity in it. But I can tell you, here's the celebration and the forgiveness of most music fans. I've never canceled a show, and I'm proud to say that, even in the heart of some really bad days for me. But recently in Texas, I'm just on my way to a gig, and I mean, my voice was fine. In the car ride to the gig, something happened, and I had nothing. It was awful. So I'm like, what do we do? Nothing. And so we had a sold out house, and the first song I sounded like, I don't know, Betty White and Kim Carnes had a baby. It was not good. And so I just said, you know what, guys, I didn't want to cancel on you tonight. And you guys know these songs. So let's just sing them together. Just close your eyes and imagine that I'm doing a great job. Yep. And I ended up just almost whispering the songs. And I told my guitar player, I said, I just want you to barely play. And I was able to get something out with faith. But it was the power of the songs and the power of the fans that carried me through that night. And for me, in that moment, I had a real big aha moment. I was like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be well. Right? It's going to still live. Right?
Well, we have the older generation of singers now that are still performing. Dionne Warwick, for instance, Gladys Knight, etc.
Yep. If you take care of your instrument, you can.
If it's gone, I say lip sync.
Yes, but
well, people don't know it anyway.
but I also think that look, there are people that are in their prime, and the audience starts singing, and they stop singing. Which is very frustrating.
That's a nice moment because it helps you as a performer have a break.
Right, exactly. So but there are. I think it's also much more acceptable now, and people understand it more that singers are not robots. That there are times
that adds to the evening. If like when he couldn't sing that night, that audience now had a moment that was just theirs that no one else was going to have. I remember at 9/11. I was in the group I was in. We were 4 people in my group, and we were going to do the Hawaii Theater, and so 2 of us went early, just to enjoy being in Hawaii for a little bit, and then 9/11 hit and all the planes stopped, and so only 2 of us were there for 2 nights at the Hawaii Theater. And so how are we going to pull this off? Well, there were several people wanting us to cancel, just out of reverence for the moment, and we're like, no, we want to go on with life. That's what we're being encouraged to do by the president.
Those lives that were lost.
And so,
yes, I hear that through the music.
We went on with the show with just 2 of us, and everyone there just loved it because it was a unique moment that only the people in this room would share. That not only the gravity of the moment we were in, but also, 2 of us trying to scramble to sing 4 parts.
I also believe that in the greatest tragedies that have happened, people want to come together.
Yeah,
they want to come together and have their feelings. And what better way to do that through music?
And there is something about us. Well, maybe not everybody, but people who are very, who listen to music a lot and are inclined to relate to music, that whether it's grief or happiness, we burst out in song.
Oh, I
You're
can't
right.
make you love me. If you, how many breakups have we all been through?
Yes,
with that?
exactly.
If you don't.
So I'm going to ask this question. We won't expound on that because we're going to go back to it, at the end of the episode. But favorite song growing up?
Growing up. What's the cutoff year? Can it go into college?
It could go into college, I guess.
It would have. We're going back
many.
to my favorite, but How Will I Know? Whitney Houston. I just feel like it's the best pop song ever, especially the bridge. That is the best bridge ever written in pop music, as far as I'm concerned.
As far back as I can remember, pop song would be "Don't Cry Out Loud," or
Melissa Manchester.
Bring in the clowns.
Keep it inside.
Keep it inside, little young gay boy.
And it's really funny because I sing that a lot, and that just tells you where my life is.
Oh man, but just singers, great singers.
So, when you began performing, when did you
It's going to
realize
be the same.
how
It's going to be the same for
powerful-
both of us. I tell you.
Yeah, how, the power of what your voice does to people?
Church. So we both.
Okay, well, here's the silly answer. I learned pretty young that people would put a $20 bill in my hand if I sang really good. So I
You
learned
got 20?
I did. I learned
That's a lot of money.
I learned about toy money pretty
I
early,
think
pretty
like
early
$1.
on. And then, right, and then then I won a talent show, and I was this is a really cute story. I was only 9 years old, but I wanted to be in the adult part. I didn't want to be in the kid part. So I was marketing at a young age. So I sang Barbara Fairchild's "I Wish I Was a Teddy Bear," and
Give us a little bit.
I wish I was a teddy bear, not living or loving or going nowhere, but with my little voice. And I ended up winning second place in the adult. I got $75. And my dad made me put half of it in the
In
bank.
1942, that was a lot of
Oh,
money.
you need to go on out that door right there. It was a lot of money, but and he made me save half, and then I got to go buy some vinyls. I went and bought I bought a Connie Smith record and a Statler Brothers record. I remember that, and so I learned a little bit of marketing early on, but.
Let's talk about vinyls. I mean, do you find that there's a difference between vinyl and the way it comes across people versus
it's
digital and
crackling.
CD, etc.?
That first spin on a vinyl when the crackle isn't all there, that's my favorite. And that's how I listened to most of the music that shaped me was on vinyl. And I remember being in my college dorm room and my dad had purchased, back then, you had to have lots of components. You had to have the amplifier, you had to have the cassette deck, and then the turntable. I had it all, the big speakers, and just listening to that music on vinyl, especially fresh out of the sleeve, I can still smell it. You know how it smells. It's so tactile, and I love that. I kind of miss it.
I actually lived for instrumental records back then because it was early on. That was early karaoke.
Yes.
Charlie McCoy records,
Yes.
harmonica. It was kind of fun. So I actually have a recording that my mother kept when I'm about 6. Singing Chris Christopherson's "Why Me, Lord."
I sang that in church.
Yeah.
A little kid singing a song that really there's no way I could relate
But
to it.
as a child, I couldn't imagine Chris Christopherson, the actor, and the singer.
Yes.
Because
songwriter.
because in the movies he was sort of like this sex symbol looking, and it's very
So
he
religious
died that way too. He was-
Yeah, it's a well. Now that we've sort of like set the background of youth, let's go to the more difficult part. Career wise, everything was going great. What was the feeling when you had your first sort of hit where you realized like, wow, I'm really doing this?
I remember starting out with the group I was in '95. We had an excellent start. We were on an arena tour, multi-artist arena tour.
You jumped right in.
We jumped right in. No one knew who we were. We didn't even know who we were. And we were taking the stage with people in my genre who were at the top of their game. singing to 18,000 people a night. And they're like, we don't know who these people are, but, people really gravitated toward us. It was 2 years later that we would have our first hit. It was the song that Ty and I have just now done. It's Testify to Love. And I remember in those first couple of years, it would be, welcome, my band. They'd say our name and we'd walk on stage and it'd be like, very sparse clapping. And then all of a sudden, about a month of Testify to Love being out, there was a visceral change in how people would respond when they would introduce us. And that's when I knew
they were no longer just a band.
The power of radio back then.
Right,
radio was the gatekeeper back in the 90s.
That's true.
It was spinning the song like crazy. And that's when I knew something was different.
If they didn't play it, no matter how good the song is, you have very little chance of really making it.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
And so how about you, Ty?
Well, I trucked around town. I went to college and I worked at a theme park called Opryland. Then I did a show called Star Search, and after Star Search, I came back to Nashville.
Not the speech. The
spokesperson. With Ed McMahon.
Right,
that year was Rosie O'Donnell, Sawyer Brown, So it was Sam Harris. And actually, Sam whooped me in the final night. We're still
Somewhere over the rainbow.
We're still great
I was
friends.
watching.
Yes, still great friends. But I came back to Nashville, could not. Like Sawyer Brown, I did not get a record deal. I was told everything. I was too flamboyant. I was too pretty. My vibrato was too big. Whatever. Somebody told me I should get on my little red tractor and go back to Alabama. Right. But I grew up with some strong women in my life. I don't listen to crap. I found my confidence, and I moved to Texas, and eventually won Texas Entertainer of the Year. The only Texan not to win, the non-Texan, they still don't know, so we're not going to tell them. But that got me my record deal, man. Right. I drove to Nashville, did a live audition just for 3 people, and I did 2 songs, and they barely looked up from the table. I left and went down to my truck. A lady came out of the building and said, "Where are you going?" I said, "To lunch." And she said, "Well, we're going to give you a record deal. Come back in." I said, "Well, you're buying lunch." So I came back inside, and 14 weeks later, I had my very first #1 record, and I didn't even know it went to #1 because we were on the road. We were working so hard, and I got to Nashville on a Sunday morning really early, and the countdown was on. I got in my pickup truck off the tour bus and was actually driving down Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. And I heard the countdown, and the beautiful Bob Kingsley. Back then, he was the king of the country countdowns. And he said, and I got him, I literally pulled on the Music Row. He goes, "And this old boy from Alabama's have his first #1 from Butler, Alabama." And he said, "And here's Ty Herndon with the #1 country song in the nation, What Mattered Most." And let me tell you,
did you have to pull over?
Yeah, years of trying and crying. Yeah. Scars becoming stars. I pulled that truck over, and there was a dent on the hood of my truck forever where I cranked it up so loud. It's pouring down rain. And I stood on the hood of my pickup truck, and people thought I was probably crazy, but I was singing that song at the top of my lung and just praising God. That moment had happened, and that's when I knew. I'll never forget that. But it may be the only time in my life that I've ever felt really that victorious in that kind of pure moment.
I want to go back to this, but I'm also wondering very quickly whether when you reach #1 these days, where it feels the same.
I felt pretty good.
You know what? That's a good question, because I was behind the curtain seeing how the music industry worked back when I had my first career, and our record company was touting all our #1s. We had like 21 #1s, but I saw how it worked.
What a legacy!
It was, hey, we need this song to stay in heavy rotation at all the records, all the radio stations for another week. How about if you do that, we'll let our other artist, who's a lot bigger artist, stop by your radio station next time they're in Dallas. And so I saw how they were kind of bargaining and they were kind of manufacturing these #1s. Flash forward to what happened to us last month. No, it's actually we're still in June.
Yeah.
this month when we went number one, there were no gatekeepers. There was no record company making this happen. There was no radio station.
More organic.
It was very organic.
Power.
And that's the power of streaming. You know, we bypassed all those gatekeepers. And this felt definitely more satisfying to me than any of the others.
Which in some ways actually is a little bit more difficult because you're competing with literally a lot more exposure and a lot more music. And so to get out of that sort of mess of a crowd and stand out, it's also
it's not ever been my world in the CCM world. It was his world. So, but for this to happen for both of us, I did feel a little guilt passing CC Winan, just a little bit, 'cause she was
so that's the other question I wanted to ask. Both genres are very intimate. Is there a difference on the audience?
Wow, for this song, I think it married a lot of people from country to Christian to gospel.
So one might say that will be like the Whitney Houston of R&B and pop. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of hearts come together. And I'll say this, I say this all the time, but it holds so true today. Something my grandmother said, and I think we saw that with this song. You put 100,000 hearts on a table, you're not going to see race, color, religion, sex. You're going to see they look the same. And so you're not going to be able to label any of that.
Right.
And so I think this song was just a beautiful icing on just a lot of beautiful hearts. And nobody can say anything otherwise. And so, and for this one, I mean, hey, I was a country artist being successful, but I still cranked Testify to Love up pretty loud on the tour bus. And so, to see all these videos now, people cranking it up so loud and just crying and telling their story, it gave a platform to people to just have permission to be loved.
Right.
I mean, come on. And so I had not experienced that before, not even in country music. So, I can't get through the videos.
Perfect lead into what we're saying. So let's talk a little bit about the I don't know. I don't understand, but whenever it's about people revealing the truth about themselves, that it always has to do with clothes. So did you have noticed that? Coming out of the closet, unpacking your baggage. It's somebody, I don't know. It sounds like
start that store.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a very very wise drag queen somewhere.
There's a correlation there.
But let's talk about that. It wasn't easy, I'm pretty sure, to decide to come out and let people know who you are, right? And there were repercussions, very very difficult repercussions to that. Let's talk a little bit about that. What was the most disappointing, I guess is the word I want to use, about the reaction of people when you came out?
The reaction or the whole experience?
On the reaction. Both, I think maybe, probably both.
Well, for me, I did not come out publicly when I received the worst blow to me and because of my identity. My group, I helped start the group that I was in, and we were very successful. We had Dove Awards, which is the Christian music version of the Grammys. We had Grammy nominations. We won American Music Award.
Your support pillar for this.
I need to, yes, thank you. And they found out just because when we lived together like nonstop for 8 years, and so our personal lives were fair game, and someone found out. They didn't like it in my group. They were very conservative minded, and they started a campaign to kick me out of my own group. And so that's when I learned a really hard lesson about how life works. It really damaged me for a long time. But now that I'm in this moment, I really see that set me on a trajectory that maybe would have never happened otherwise.
Yeah.
And so, thank goodness I've lived long enough to see the positive side of where that journey went.
The arc. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the arc of it. And so, for me, another disappointing thing is just to see the hypocrisy of the moment, because I know way too much of what happens in my industry and my genre, and for me to be singled out, it was a very hypocritical moment. And I guess that you could, but that's in every walk of life, every genre,
But here's the good news. God just kind of put him in a vat of Botox because he looks the same and better. So, so he's this moment is I need some emotional support
Lighting
for
in here,
that.
so yeah, thanks.
Yes. And for me, it was addiction. At the height of my dreams, trying to have my dream and to have everything that I wanted, I could not be gay. So going to great lengths to hide that.
Yeah.
And then and a horrible addiction on top of it. And for me, it came the 3 months. My second single was at number 5 on the country charts, and my addiction took me down hard. The very thing I feared the most happened. I got revealed, and it was in a really horrible way. And because of my new book, I for the first time, actually got to, as my own mother said, she goes, "Wow." She goes, "I got to give you a hug in a moment I never thought I'd get to give you a hug." But I got arrested, a very public arrest, in a park. Is sexual everything that could possibly have. You couldn't have painted. It was a horrible paint by number. But the truth today, getting to tell it's a beautiful Monet.
Right.
Because what I know now is if that hadn't happened to me, I don't know that I'd been alive 6 months later.
Right.
So I celebrate it now. My scars, one of my biggest scars is one of my biggest stars.
Right.
And I truly think that way today, and I'm grateful. And that story, I think it's going to help a lot of people. I had to excavate very deep to tell it. But one thing that I think that even Michael will tell you, we don't walk in shame anymore. Shame is a cancer.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
So
Some people want us to.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
but
when people
they've got the power.
when people say, "Well, I don't understand why there's no straight pride," and I tell people there's no straight pride because there is no shame attached to
Right.
To being straight in a
And
society.
that is what you're celebrating. You're
Right.
celebrating that we're not
Right.
ashamed of who we are.
Right. And it's and I know it's a very difficult thing, for people to see, because in some ways that shame is a part of them, as well. It hasn't, it's almost less to do with you than it is about them,
Amen.
especially with families.
What I would rather see is an ally pride.
Exactly.
'Cause those are, I think,
Right.
allies are people that that do their homework. They're really connected. I think one of the hardest things for me is I just won't sit down and argue with somebody that just doesn't have the information correct. I've been ignorant on a lot of things in my life, but I spend time to make that better. Okay, I want to dive into this. So part of my platform today is please educate yourself.
Right.
Well,
that's
even if it's the Bible, because I will go there with you.
Right.
But
but
don't
also
have to keep up.
I have to say that even with LGBTQ community,
Yes.
I find it very frustrating that there are things that the newer generation take for granted. For instance, marriage equality, is a very important one.
Or just in my lifetime, there were certain parts of even our country where it was illegal.
Yes.
It was illegal.
But even
Yeah.
in very liberal Hollywood, as they call it,
yeah.
right? Let's talk about Brokeback Mountain not winning the Oscar when it was clearly the best, in that field. Why? They're very popular actors, great director, great story, still didn't win, right? But everyone knew it was supposed to.
I saw it 5 times. I've never seen so many pair of sunglasses in a theater in my life.
Exactly.
Sunglasses and ball caps.
But
I'm like, okay, but you're here.
But and more recently, Call Me by Your Name versus Love, Simon.
Beautiful.
So Call Me by Your Name. A lot of the younger generation, of my friends who were talking about it, were very frustrated. They said they love Simon more, and I kept explaining to them that you don't understand what it feels like to just be okay with standing next to someone without saying something because you're not supposed to.
Right.
It would be a dream, in the 80s and the 90s for you, like a delusional dream, to be in some sort of ride during the fair, and the person that you liked the most sat next to you and said that they liked you too. That was really delusional. You didn't dream about getting married to the same gender. It didn't exist. And
I didn't dream. I had nightmares about having to marry someone that I was not in love with because I thought that that's how I Everyone expected me
Yes.
to do that.
Yes.
I literally had
Did it.
bad dreams about that.
Yeah.
Just at the altar, like, oh no,
I mean,
this is happening.
The youth, especially the ones that are coming out that are not accepted by family and friends, the one they're closest to,
And we hear a lot. We hear a lot from those people.
depression, suicidal, drugs. It's so it's so disgusting that it still is prevalent today.
Yeah.
And I think
It
in
is.
some ways it's getting worse.
I just had a young man Instagram me and just tell me a little bit of his story of how he contemplated suicide. And so I just flipped over to his Instagram page and just scrolled down and looked at the person that he is. His beautiful blue eyes, piercing, and I'm like, I'm so thankful that he found the strength to make it to the other side. Just it really pains me to think of all the people that didn't, and all the wonderful lives that could contribute to the culture so well that just didn't have the strength. And of course, that's not a slight on them. Who knows what awful things they were enduring that made that led them to that decision for a permanent answer to a very temporary problem.
Right. But also, especially in the 1990s, we were coming off the 1980s when generations of gay men were dying. And there was a good part of that where the people who could do something about it didn't do something about it and had no desire to do anything about it because they thought that was sort of the God's way of purging, people out of, unwanted people out of,
Human
off
pest
the earth.
control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting narrative there.
Yeah.
So and what's interesting to me is that, and I'm a religious person, but this type of conversation with people who don't understand or who are not willing to understand other people for who they are, it feels like I'm being robbed of my relationship with a higher power, with my own relationship. Co-opting the idea of God as the only, as their way of their description, and there's nothing else.
Yeah, no, there's nobody gets to own that. But I going back to all the beautiful hearts we lost to AIDS. I feel like they are the heartbeat of all of us today. I feel like they give us strength. I feel like they're angels that live in us. I've said that since day when I lost friends. Yes, of course, but they live on through us. But I had something. I didn't grow up fearing any kind of God. We had one loving God in our household, so I really was lucky there and very blessed. But just recently on our book tour, and I'll close my thoughts out with this because if anything I want you guys to hear is this. I had a transgender young man. First question after we were there for a minute, he said, "Okay," he said, "Mr. Ty," which I loved. He said, "Mr. Ty," he said, "I love God. I want to love God, but everybody's telling me I don't get to do that." And my grandmother showed up in me just like that. I said, "Young man, come here." I said, "Let me tell you something. You are your church. You are the church. You don't go to anyone's church. You're the church. And you get to pick your congregation. You get to pick who sits in your seats." And I said, "And I want to be a charter member of your church. And let's go forward from this day knowing that." And said, "No one can take God away from you. No one ever can. And I God bless the people that think they can, But when you look at me, I was on the Opry stage just the night. I'm jumping up and down with the Holy Spirit. You're not going to take that out of me. You're not going to take it away from me. And I am a 10-year-old preacher, and I'm preaching right now. So this is what I'm telling you. You are your church. Be your church."
What is the trigger for you that says, you know what? I don't really care what they say. I don't. All the people. Was there a particular time or event when you just said,
Made me
you know
not
what?
care?
Not yeah.
They both think of you.
There is a younger version of me that would have been in a fetal position if people had known all about me. And it all stemmed back from growing up. I grew up in a very small rural church in Mississippi, very conservative views. And those are the people that I trusted, and I took on their values. I'm like, well, if I believe differently than these people that I love, am I disrespecting them somehow? And I got to the point where I had to I hate using the word because it's so overused, and a lot of people just don't really know what it means. But I did deconstruct. I flattened all the boxes of all the things that I built in my head and rebuilt my belief system. But I think every person has to do that. You can't just live on what you were told. You have to work through it and know what you believe. And I don't want to get too far into this, but I do feel like the political climate in this country, starting in about 10 years ago, really affected the way that I view religion. And it was a turning point for me because here I am, a person from diapers to diploma. I was at church every time the doors opened. I was a member of that tribe. And the moment people even sensed what my true identity was, I was literally thrown off that bus. But here comes a political figure who I feel was using a demographic to attain their political goals, but yet they embrace this person as someone sent from God. But yet I was the one that was cast out.
I think part of the issue with religion, with me growing up, I grew up Catholic, and what I've found very, very, very early on is that the people who go to church the most or who read the Bible the most are some of the most despicable human beings, because they use the fact that they go to church all of the time and that they read the Bible all of the time and then get out and do whatever it is that they want and treat people however they want and feel like they have elevated themselves to God level, and so everybody else is sort of beneath them. No
one else will live up.
It's the judgment.
I've never been judged more harshly than by self-proclaimed evangelical Christians.
Yes, that's a whole nother hour.
And the reality is that, and then let's go to what matters most.
Yes.
So, what matters most?
What matters most to me is quieting those noises, because that's just a bunch of noise, and I think that has to live in you. But you find your true, authentic self, and you live in that church. I love the word church because church is something. It's a place of happiness. It's what it should be. What matters most to me today is the message we're doing right now. Telling our most authentic truth and seeing that we are well, that we are happy, we're adjusted, we're making great music, we're having a career at any age. And you cannot let that noise in, because people that are going to throw that noise at you, every day they walk out, they're burning their own church down. So for me, that's just a bunch of racket. And I love that word because my mom used to say that you guys quit that racket out there. But what matters most today is finding joy, finding joy in everything you do. We're not going to be happy every day. I've been married 3 years now, and it's the most beautiful, hardest thing I've ever done. But we do grow, and we do find joy. And by the way, I left a piece of jewelry at that last set we were at. We need to go get that because I've had it forever. Sorry, just wanted to put that in there.
Put a pin in it.
Because I want to be happy when I get home.
Right.
So,
and it's on video.
Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. What matters most to me right now is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I second that. Yeah. Also, what matters is showing compassion and kindness toward others, even when you don't receive it. And I love a quote is attributed to Stephen Colbert: "Be kind, not because they may or may not be, but because you are." And I was, those values were instilled in me by my parents. Compassion and empathy. I think that matters a lot, especially going into a space where now I may be considered a pariah to many people, where I was once their golden boy. Now I am the apostate. And so I just I'm not going to meet that type of attitude with anything other than kindness.
Well, kindness is an interesting word. For whatever reason, kindness. Because for whatever reason, kindness
Not nice.
It's a controversial word now.
Yeah.
So kindness to strangers, kindness to your fellow human beings, kindness to immigrants, kindness to, for whatever reason, before, if you had said, I want to be unkind to somebody, people would shame you.
Mm.
Whether or not they mean it, they would shame you. They'd say, why would you do that? You have to be good. You have to be kind. But now it's okay to not be kind to people.
Isn't that crazy?
It's okay to say nasty things, online.
There's a license now just to be all those things that we've worked so hard as a culture and a society not to be.
Mm-hmm. It has, in some ways, the unkindness of people get followed more than the ones who are spreading love and kindness. Do you find that you resonate more with a certain type or generation of audience?
I think I've learned to read people very well, and I know where you're coming from with your kindness, and if it's authentic, and you're going to get the best back from me, or I'm going to become a teacher in that moment. Because one thing that I have truly learned is do not let someone's unkindness and someone's noise put a gun in your hand. And I'm not saying to use on them, to use on you. Don't pull the trigger on yourself ever because of someone else's ignorance, unkindness, and noise. Find your joy. Find your tribe. Find your chosen family. And you're going to be, you want your miracle? Find those things. But for kids today, it is tragic.
Do you think it's more difficult to be young LGBTQ today than it was, let's say during,
I find them to be very brave.
Or is it the same?
I think those voices have gotten, I was like, I find a lot of, I think they've listened.
But it also depends on what you were born into. So if you were born into a very conservative,
if you're born
religious
into a mean
family,
society,
that's your little microcosm. And it can be just as hard for that 2026 young person as it was years and decades ago. It really depends on where you are. And so I tell people, because people ask me, well, how did you do it? Well, how do I do it? I'm like, well, first of all, you have to protect yourself. You've got to judge your surroundings and just make sure you protect yourself, and then come out when it feels right. You'll know.
Yeah, be safe. Yep.
So Testify.
Don't let anybody be the boss of you. You're the boss of you.
Which is perfect. So Testify is an interesting word. And testify to love. I just wanted to point out a couple of things because it is pride. All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices of the wind, every dream that reaches out to find where love begins, every word of every story. Be a witness in the silences when words are not enough.
That is the line. If people are going to write us and quote one line, it's that line. Witness when silence. What is the line? Witnesses, words are not enough. And the silence is when words are not enough. People love that line. I know. I have to feed him words all the time when we're singing
the wrap-up side over there, so I know we got to wrap it up.
But that is the line in the song that really resonates with a lot of people.
It is.
And I think that's a line that it's written so well that it can just mean so many different things to so many different people. And that's what I love about the art of it.
So, perfect. Last question, for you. What role has music played in the healing part?
Give me that.
Are you going to take this with you when we leave today?
What role has music played in the healing part? It's played everything. It is the ace of the cards. For me, in the moments of the greatest darkness, I wrote a song called God or the Gun. I found my way out through music. People find their way out through listening to music. You find your story through music. So that was a great last question. It is the great healer.
It really reaches into you. And like I maybe said earlier, it allows for some articulation that you weren't quite sure how to put your feelings into words. And then all of a sudden there are these words, but they're accompanied by these melodies. And the two together create an art form that really communicates like nothing else. And so I love that we're creating art, because I feel like art is going to change the culture quicker than a law will. The arts have that power, and I love being a part of that.
Amen.
And we love
Brother.
that you're a part of us as well. So anything happening for Pride for you? Just to
I'm staying in New York City just to enjoy it. I've never done that before. So, and Michael's going to go home and represent Testify to Love and sing it in Nashville.
Yeah, we actually have the same Pride, same weekend in Nashville and New York. So I'm gonna.
So happy Pride, everybody.
Yeah.
We love you.
thank you so much for coming. And because it's Pride and Pride Month, I want to ask we wanted I think in our own way for people to be really visible about who they are and what they stand for, and it's difficult these days because most of what we see is manufactured. It's for marketing purposes. Even your day-to-day life on social media is manufactured. It's very hard to really tap into that authentic self. But in any case, we are really privileged to have the two of you. Thank you so much, Ty and
Likewise,
Michael.
we feel the same.
Thank you.
And on behalf of Global Wealth Office and Classic Modern, this is Loy Carlos wishing you peace and goodwill.
All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices of the wind, every dream that reaches out to find where love begins, every word of every story, and every star and every sky, every corner of creation lives to testify. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I'll be a witness in the silences.